Welcome to Zero Hanger Hard Knocks, where each week every team cops a hard knock or a burning question. We are fresh off round 12, so let's kick it off. Is it time the Crows experiment with their midfield? Adelaide's engine room struggled against Hawthorn's midfield contingent on Saturday, with easy clearance exits and broken tackles making up a mare of an afternoon for Matthew Nicks. So, what's the solution? Is it time we see some other faces get more minutes in the middle? Before Isaac Rankin returns, the Crows should be looking towards the likes of Max Michelini or Mitch Hinge to see if they can get some speed and defensive prowess. Have we seen the last of Mark Pitternet? Carlton's transition to one recognised ruckman is paying dividends for Michael Voss, with Tom De Koning flourishing in the first-string ruck role in the absence of senior tall Mark Pitternet. The Blues have begun to rely on De Koning as their sole ruckman, while forward Harry Mackay pinch hits, and it's seen them return to premiership contention in recent weeks. De Koning was arguably the Blues' best performer in Thursday's win over Port Adelaide, and his form is likely to leave Pitternet out of the side altogether. Will the fixture keep Collingwood in the finals race? The reigning premiers have slipped to 9th on the ladder following their loss to the Dogs and the weekend's results, with their undermanned squad struggling to keep an undefeated run alive. It could be a sign of what's to come for Collingwood, as they likely remain without key players for matches against Melbourne, North Melbourne and Gold Coast. 2 losses from those 3 and they'll have an uphill battle to get back into flag contention, but with 7 of their final 8 games at the MCG, the fixture might work in their favour. Defeat, but no loss of admirers. Essendon's first loss since round 4 certainly didn't lose any admirers, as the club sits second on the ladder. Travelling is a tough ask to begin with, but playing football in the state of Queensland is a hard adjustment, which is why the Suns look like a different team in front of their fans. The Bombers gave themselves every chance, but with a few errant kicks and a bit of bad luck, were unable to keep the winning streak going. Brad Scott has surprised the AFL world with how relentless Essendon are playing, and their long stretch without a finals win is on track to be broken. Flag Mantle 2024? It's easy to jump on a team's bandwagon after a 92-point win, but that was one of the year's most comprehensive victories. Labelled as boring and lifeless with their ball movement, Fremantle were as precise as a surgeon, cutting through the demons with ease. Fremantle's last 5 starts have yielded 3 wins, a draw and a loss, albeit the defeat was after the tragic passing of former teammate Cam McCarthy. Justin Longmire has gotten this team humming, and with only a game behind second on the ladder, the sky's the limit. What's happened to Cardinia Park? Geelong's victory over an injury-battled Richmond wasn't something to write home about. After creating GMHBA Stadium into a fortress for wins only, the Cats have stumbled in recent times to Port Adelaide and GWS at the once-feared home, with the Tigers almost clawing a surprising victory. After an impressive 7-0 start, Geelong had a wretched month of football before eventually returning to the winners list. Despite battling form and a few personnel issues, the Cats sit 3rd on the ladder and sat in the exact same spot in 2022. Maybe with all those renos, they accidentally paved over the club's soul. People's Heritage Stadium is now a fortress. Non-Victorian clubs have the advantage of turning their home venues into fortresses, which makes it hard for visiting sides to accomplish anything. Gold Coast has done exactly that. Having told away since 2011 without a finals appearance, Damien Hardwick has quickly turned the home ground advantage into a place of reckoning for the Suns. Currently sitting inside the 8, Gold Coast start could be turned into something unique, and winning home games is just the start. Should we be talking finals with the Hawks? Hawthorn now sit 12th after winning 4 of their past 5 games, with the only smudge on that record being a 1-point loss to Port Adelaide. They remain outsiders for September, but Sam Mitchell's side should well and truly be in the finals conversation, given they sit 8 points from the top 8 at the halfway mark and look to be getting better each week. Melbourne. What the f*** was that? The D's went up to Alice Springs with the hope that they could solidify their spot in the top 8, but instead they now sit 10th. They couldn't get their hands on the ball or create opportunities forward of centre, and their clearance work was abysmal. I still think Goodwin is the man for the job, and as a D's fan, we know better than anybody what firing a coach can do to a club, but holy shit, that f***ing sucked. Are Port Adelaide the most consistently inconsistent team ever? We might be dealing with the same story Port Adelaide have put up in recent years, failing to offer consistency and falling short when it matters most. A loss to Carlton opened up more issues for Ken Hinkley's side, with the defeat seeing their defence fall apart and their midfield unit dismantled when the game was on the line. Add in poor nights from Charlie Dixon and Todd Marshall, and the Power could be looking at another lacklustre end to the year if that level of form persists. This is truly the season from hell. McKelty Lafau's knee injury is the fifth ACL suffered this year at the Tigers, taking yet another troop from the already mostly depleted playing list in 2024. Having arrived at Cardinia Park with roughly 13 of their best 22, the Tigers now lose a promising young key forward on the rise for the rest of the season, on top of losing another premiership hero. Where to next for the Saints in 2024? Ross Lyon showed once again why he may be the best in-game manager of the AFL coaching crop, putting the clamps on Harley Reid in the second half to allow his Saints to run over the top in the last. But the question must be asked, how should the Saints be managing the back half of 2024? An end-of-year surge to September seems pretty unlikely, and with a list that is perpetually questioned for its top-end talent, is it worth reeling in these tight wins, climbing the ladder to the dreaded 8 to 12 range by the end of the year, missing out on the cream of the draft crop? St Kilda may be better off bottoming out completely rather than trying to save what has been a dismal season so far. How do they handle the Harley tag? The blueprint has finally been outlined. Marcus Windhager's second half job on Harley Reid successfully quelled the young star after a blistering first half, exposing some ill discipline and susceptibility in the process. Adam Simpson and his troops should be expecting the same for the rest of the season now, so how will they help their young star deal with the attention? Is this the year Adam Treloar finally gets his first All-Australian blazer? Western Bulldogs midfielder Adam Treloar might be having a career-best year at the age of 31, with the pacey midfielder again one of his side's best performers over the weekend. Working alongside skipper Marcus Bontempelli against his former club at Collingwood on Friday, Treloar was a dominant force in midfield and added to his exceptional 2024 season. After going without an All-Australian selection so far in his career, is this the year he finally gets a blazer? And the last hard knock is for the AFL itself. Should the AFL alter its eligibility criteria for season awards? With both Harley Reid and Sam Darcy ruled out of the Rising Star race due to suspensions, would the AFL consider changing the eligibility criteria for awards like the Rising Star or Brownlow, given the stricter interpretations on tackling and general rough conduct charges? Should only acts deemed as intentional instead of careless by the MRO be enough to make a player ineligible for these awards? And those are our hard knocks leading into round 13. Are we right? Are we wrong? Are we asking the right questions? Let us know what you think in the comments. Hit the subscribe button, and don't forget you can catch all the latest AFL news at zerohangout.com, the #1 independent AFL news source.